Luigi is weird. He's known as the lanky, goofy, underdog brother to Mario, but these defining traits weren't always as clear. As the very first clone in gaming history, he started out more as a twin than a brother. And it's no different in Smash, with most of his data being copied from Mario, especially in earlier games of the franchise. Having his literal voice be the exact same as his brother's only pitched up by 14%. And it was nearly a decade later in Brawl where he finally got the ability to speak on his own and have more expressive animations. But there's an interesting bug showing traces of his clone origins. By throwing an item down in midair, Luigi's model becomes strangely disfigured. Like most of his animations, they're borrowed from Mario.
Hey! Who threw this at me?
But for this one specifically, Luigi's bones weren't adjusted properly. Aesthetics aside, Brawl is notorious for having drastic changes to the game's engine. These changes disproportionately affected Luigi's gameplay, being considerably worse compared to Melee. Let's take a deep dive and explore the changes to the physics, mechanics, and overall changes to his character from Melee to Brawl that exacerbated the weaknesses and wackiness of Luigi. Luigi has a history of being unbalanced, slippery, and floaty, having a higher jump than Mario. This was translated into Smash, with Luigi having the lowest traction overall and very low gravity and falling speed throughout the series. Taking more time to reach maximum fall speed and having slow fall speed to begin with simply means Luigi is in the air for longer. This, combined with his weak air drift and acceleration, means that jumping becomes a big commitment due to the limited options Luigi has in the air. Traction is a bit trickier to make sense of in terms of gameplay. Traction measures how long it takes a character to stop sliding on the ground after a horizontal force like walking, dashing, taking a hit, and being in shield stun. It's a stat that varies among the cast as well as the type of terrain you're fighting on. Most terrain in Smash has a value of 1, but high traction terrain like grass has a value of 1.5, decreasing the distance traveled by horizontal forces. Low traction surfaces like ice, and in Melee, oil spills on Flat Zone, the pit zones on Mute City, the turtle shell in Great Bay, and the UFO on Foresight have the opposite effect. On high traction terrain, Jigglypuff's rollout and Yoshi's egg roll are easier to turn, which leads to some funny interactions. Higher traction is typically preferred, having more control over your character and making punishing moves out of shield easier. But there are some cases where having lower traction is useful, the most prominent example being wave dashing in Melee, a technique utilizing the momentum from your directional air dodge. Luigi has the lowest traction in Melee, and therefore the longest wave dash. This key movement option helps counteract the large amount of pushback he receives and the limited range on his attacks. Brawl was much floatier than Melee, where many characters, and Luigi especially, had decreased gravity and fall speeds. In addition, Luigi's ground speed was nerfed, and he weighed less, meaning he could be KO'd easier. But the decrease in gravity meant that he could now perform 3 moves in one short hop without being Meta Knight. However, this made jumping even more of a commitment, with his maneuverability in the air remaining garbage. The most devastating change was the removal of directional air dodges and subsequently wave dashing, severely hindering Luigi's movement. Because of this, low traction became much less beneficial in Brawl, but there were a few new techniques that benefited from this stat. Luigi did gain the newly introduced ability to crawl. Crawl dashing was soon discovered, which did benefit from low traction. Universal movement tech like glide tossing, where you cancel your roll animation with the item throw animation within 5 frames, dash attack canceled up smash, boosted pivot grab, and dash pivot canceling also benefited from Luigi's slipperiness. And while not a technique, a hidden benefit in the Diddy Kong matchup specifically was that Luigi slid so far from being hit by Banana Peel that it was more difficult to follow up with an attack compared to other characters. But glide tossing was only beneficial in a few matchups. Luigi's Dacus didn't travel that much farther than a regular running up smash. His boosted pivot grab was decent, but that technique along with Dacus had strict timing due to his jump squat. This meant that if Luigi messed up these techniques, he would perform a dash attack instead, which is one of the worst moves in the game. And honestly, that's saying a lot. Overall, these techniques did not fill the gap of the consistent and effective utility that is Wave Dash and Melee provided, all while the negative downsides of traction remaining the same. But Luigi's dash attack was infamously missing its final hitbox in previous games. Brawl fixed this issue, so why is it still a bad move? Dash attack is also frame 4 and technically disjointed. This video by Big Bang Bot goes more in depth about this move and many other moves in Brawl, so definitely go and check them out. But basically, this move is extremely unsafe on block and takes forever to complete. The final hit is safe, but the multi-hits are easily escapable. Think of it as Kazuya's jab, except you can't accidentally KO your opponents or have a second version of the attack that is actually useful and has great damage and knockback. Yo, that character is broken. Someone should make a video about that. Oh, sorry, wrong video. His forward tilt, specifically the downward angled version of it, was not changed from Melee, still having a set knockback value of 1. It's not entirely useless because it can jab lock opponents, which in Brawl can be done infinitely. Other attacks in the game do have set knockback, but they either have a normal value or purposely have low set knockback to link into another hit. From what we've seen so far, Luigi's abilities have either been nerfed or remained horrible. At least Luigi's specials received some decent changes. His side special now maintains its upwards momentum while charging after a jump, which was a nice improvement to his recovery. It now has intangibility, but only at the very beginning of the move, and not during a misfire, which still had a 1 in 8 chance to occur, but now traveled less distance compared to Melee. You can also charge the move forever if you want. Green Missile now also had the chance to get stuck in a wall, where you were completely vulnerable during this long, albeit hilarious animation. But this made recovering even more random. But gambling is only fun for goofy moves in Super Smash Bros., not your actual livelihood. And that's where FlexiSpot's C7 Max comes in. Assembly was simple, and I've been using this chair for over a week now, literally, as I'm editing this video. The ergonomic features have helped my productivity and posture. Yes sir, no more gamer neck for me. And even after a long day of editing, the C7 Max delivers. You can recline at multiple angles, and there's a footrest. This character has so many movement options, I think it could make top 8 at a major, assuming it avoids a couple of -3 matchups. Since I spend most of my day in a chair, I would genuinely invest in this, and the reviews I checked out before partnering with FlexiSpot said the same thing. The C7 Max offers a great price for the features you get, but most importantly, Luigi is a huge fan of the chair. I mean, I like the chair, but I'm not... Hi, Billy Sock right here with the new FlexiSpot C7. His down special became a multi-hit move and traveled much higher when mashing, and the number of E presses required to gain height was decreased. And there was a useless tech with it called the Infinite Rising Tornado. By mashing down B right before landing, you regain your double jump and can continue this forever. And yeah, that's it. It remained a decent approach tool and an even better recovery tool. It could now also be used to edgeguard opponents. Luigi's up special now travels further and is much easier to drift out of. And there is one secret technique that Luigi can still do in Brawl. The Luigi ladder. Where two Luigis continually up-B each other, hitting the weak sour spot to cancel each other's free fall animation and continuously gain height. They can fly as high as... Oh no! While the Luigi ladder is technically possible, you can't get as high as you used to in Melee because of how blast zones work in Brawl. But despite this tragedy, they couldn't take away Luigi's down taunt, which was buffed, dealing double the damage. It has more set knockback now, being able to one-hit KO opponents. In Melee, because the knockback was so low, opponents could still jump or up special to meteor cancel the move. But outside of a few characters with smaller meteor cancel windows, if you somehow land this move in Brawl, it will at least be a guaranteed kill. However, the hitbox is still tiny and takes forever to come out. But a unique feature about this move, other than the fact that it has a hitbox, is that along with this up special, both these moves play the iconic sound most commonly heard with the home run bat. Ha! Ow. The sound serves no purpose in game other than to indicate that a move is powerful, and other moves and items have this sound effect, but Luigi is the only character in the series to have 2 of these moves with this property. Speaking of the home run contest and the number 2, in Brawl, Luigi holds the second best record for the home run contest, only behind the King of Evil. This is due to the buffs he received in his forward smash, which is used instead of the bat for the final hit. I guess these two have more stuff in common than being casualties of Brawl. His moves on their own aren't horrible, with the aforementioned forward smash being surprisingly powerful, up smash keeping its intangibility on his head, down smash did have its knockback angle changed, but I guess you can do this now? But this highlights another major problem Luigi has in Brawl. In Melee, his down smash combined with his wave dash was a solid approach and combo option, especially against fast fallers. But Brawl introduced hit stun canceling, interrupting your tumble animation early with an air dodge or attack, and some moves halted momentum entirely. This made combos nearly impossible and allowed characters to survive at higher percents, slowing the pace of the game even further. Even when he lands a hit, it is extremely difficult to maintain an advantage. His throws and combo potential are severely lacking the dangerous punish game he had in Melee. Stronger characters in the meta had tools to consistently win neutral or gain the ability to chain grab. King DDD specifically had a vendetta against the Mario Bros, having an infinite chain grab he could perform on them with his down throw. I mean, I can understand Mario, but come on, Luigi's your boy. As a result of these changes, Brawl became heavily neutral focused, with shield becoming much more important. But Luigi had a hard time punishing moves on shield without wave dashing, being forced to perfect shield attacks in order to get a punish. In addition, Luigi wasn't the only one who had his recovery buffed, with recoveries improving across the cast along with ledge grab hitboxes becoming larger. The distance Luigi gained in his recovery didn't make up for the fact that it was still predictable and able to be easily edgeguarded. All of this combined with his lower weight and lack of range and combo potential led to his drop in the tier list. But there is one aspect of Luigi in Brawl that was, without a doubt, better than Melee, because it is. Being in the shadow of his older brother has always been a part of his identity, even in details you wouldn't really think about. Like in Melee, you can unlock Luigi by clearing the first level of Adventure Mode as long as the second digit of the second portion of the clock is a 2. This motif continues in Brawl, where he can be unlocked after 22 battles, and in the sound test, his sound effects are in the 20-second file. This relegation to being lost and forgotten is reflected in his final smash, Negative Zone. The best one in the game. Now that is some S-tier material right there. But at the end of the day, despite the universe's attempts to keep Luigi at number 2, the best part is Luigi is 3 spots above Mario in both Melee and Brawl's tier lists. It's nice to see Luigi get the respect he deserves. Solid Snake also is a fan of Luigi.
Hey, that's Luigi. Show him a little respect.
And in the transition from Melee to Brawl, what Luigi lost in viability, he gained in personality. Well, like they say in Brooklyn. Please consider subscribing or becoming a member of my Ko-fi page if you really enjoyed my content. And thank you to Maxley Dev, FluffySheep17, Smacks, Lil, and Lucas for your continued support.